we want to understand how the OWD will work. So look at the navigation, setup, administer, security controllers, sharing settings, edit. What are you finding? Organization wide default settings, setup, administer, security controllers, sharing settings, edit. Then we have here, scroll down, what is the object? Customer. What is the access we are giving? Public. I am making this as private. What is the OWD I gave? Private. Let it be updated. So meanwhile, if I go to customer object, see who is the owner of all these records. There are 14 records. Owner of all these 14 records are admin. Right. Now all the 14 records are owned by admin. Now we want to go to Wilson and see. We want to go to Wilson and see. Let it be updated. We have modified OWD as private. Now how do you do this? How do you do this? Testing. Navigation. Setup. Administer. Security controllers. Sharing settings. Setup, administer, security controllers, sharing settings. Then we have OWD. Edit. Choose the object, enable the permission. So go back and see whether permission is enabled or not. Yes. Now go to Wilson. Who is this user? Wilson. Now Wilson is opening a customer object. Is he able to see any records here? No. Now there are 14 records, but Wilson was not able to see any record. Why? OWD is private. When I say OWD is private, only the records owned by the owner will be able to see. If you own the record, only those records you can see. Other records you cannot see. Records owned by the owner, records owned by the user, only those records are visible. Rest of the records are not visible. Fine. Then again I am going back to this OWD. Edit. Then I have customer public read. When I say customer public read, then what happened? Records are visible to everyone, but on others record, you are able to perform only read operation. So let us see this. Previously, Wilson was not able to see any record because I gave private. None of the records are owned by Wilson, so he was not able to see. Now I gave public read. Public read. So if I am the owner, I can perform read, write, delete, transfer. If you are not the owner, you can only perform read. You can only perform read operation. So go back to Wilson. He was able to see who is the user? Wilson. He was able to see all the records of other people. But when you try to edit, insufficient privilege. You can only perform read. I hope you got my points. Then You had a customer, read write. When you say read write, what happened? You'll be able to see everyone's data, read and write. If you observe here, we are getting control by. Why control by parent? So contact data is controlled by account. Order data is controlled by account. I told you, if two objects are connected by master detail relation, now if you want the child need to be controlled by the parent, the child OWD need to be controlled by parent, we are going to give control by parent. So meanwhile, let us see if the file is updated. Go back. Go to Wilson. Then click on edit. You was able to edit the data. Then click on delete. Insufficient privilege. I hope you are good with this format. I hope you are good with this format. So what we are able to do now? What we are able to do? Read, write. I hope you are good. Okay. The next, if you are looking at the OWD, again I am going back here. Edit. I am giving us private. Now only owner can see the record. Then we had an option here called grant access using hierarchy. If this option is enabled, whichever the user is standing on the top of you, he can control the record. Whoever is standing on the top of you in the role hierarchy, he will be able to see each and every record that you can access. Now my manager can see my record. Now I have a role structure here. So manager can see all the records of clerk. VP can see all the records of manager and clerk. If you enable the option called grant access using role hierarchy. Now I gave OWD as private. Go back to this. What is the role of Wilson? Role is recruiting manager. Then Satish role is recruiter. Satish is below Wilson. If Satish is below Wilson, then go back and see. Wilson will be able to see every record. That Satish. Now can he delete the record? Yes, he can delete. Why he was able to delete? Because Wilson was standing on the top of Satish. Wilson can see every record that is visible to Satish. He can perform read, write, delete, transfer on every record. Are you clear about it? So what was this option called? Grant access using role hierarchies. Grant access using role hierarchy. What was this grant access using role hierarchy? If you enable this option, if you enable all this option, all the users who are standing above you in the role hierarchy, they can access all the records that are visible to you. If you enable this option, all the users who are standing above you in the role hierarchy, they can access all the records that are visibility. They can access all the records that are visibility. Then, next one. What is the next one that we had? All the users who are standing above you, all the users who are standing above you, all the users who are standing above you can perform read, write, delete, all the users who are standing above you can perform read, write, delete, transfer operations. There are operations on the records that are visibility. I hope you are good with this. All the users who are standing above you can perform read, write, delete, transfer operations on those records that are accessible to you. Now, by default, this option is enabled. By default, this option is enabled. By default, this option is enabled on all the standard objects. By default, this option is enabled on all the standard objects. By default, this option is enabled on all the standard objects. On custom objects, we can enable or disable the option based on the requirement. On custom objects, we can enable or disable the option based on the requirement. By default, this option is enabled on all the standard objects. On custom objects, we can enable or disable based on the requirement. On the custom objects, we can enable or disable the option based on the requirement. So, grant access using role hierarchy. This option is by default enabled on all the standard objects. On custom objects, we can enable or disable based on your requirement. I hope you are clear. Okay. So, go back to this one. Now, what we have seen is OWDs and grant access using role hierarchy. Now, look at the next story. Using OWD, I can only give minimum level of access. Using OWD, I can give only minimum level of access. Using OWD, I can give only minimum level of access. Now, if I have a requirement for this group of people, every record should be visible. Now, I have a requirement for this group of people, every record should be visible. How will you achieve? If I want to specify for a group of people, every record should be visible, then I will go for view all and modify all. What is the permission? Profile level permission. Granting access on the records and profile level access. So let us look at the next one here. Profile level. Profile level access. View all, modify all. View all and modify all. View all and modify all. Now look at the format. Listen carefully, boss. So here we had read, write, read, edit, delete. This is what we will see. Read, edit, delete, view all, modify all, 111 Sham, 222 Ram. This is the format in which we receive. Now, in this, we have OWD. What is the value of OWD? I can give private, public read, write. Read no. View all no. At the object level, what you told? No access on the object. If you cannot see the object, can you see the records? If object is not visible, if you Sham login, which record you can see? Object not. Let us say, yes, he has a read permission. If you have a read permission on the object, first you should have a read permission on the object. I have read permission on the object. No edit permission. No delete permission. And I'm giving private. So, if you have only read permission on the object, what type of access I will get on records? On the records also, first you should have read permission on the object, then you will get read permission on the record. Edit permission on the object, then only we get edit permission on record. If you want to see a record and perform edit, on the record you should have edit, on the object you should have edit, then only we can perform. So when a Sham login, what you will be able to see? 111 Sham. What about 222? What about 222? You cannot see 222 because OWD is private. Now, Sham is a owner, right? But still, why he is able to perform only read? Because at the object level, you don't have a permission of, in the object level, you don't have a permission of edit and delete. That is the reason he has only read. Even though you are the owner of the record, if you want to perform any operation, object level you require a permission, record level you require a permission. OWD is private. On the record, you don't have a permission to see 222. Are you clear? So I give read. Now what will happen? Sham can see. Read, edit. Sham can see read, edit, delete. Right. Now I'm giving when I say view all, irrespective of your OWD, all the users with this profile can see everyone's record. When I say view all, irrespective of your OWD, all the users with this profile can see every record of this object. But what they can perform? So view all will dominate OWD. If I give modify all, now when I say modify all the users with this profile, they perform read, write, delete, transfer on every record. Modify all. So modify will dominate OWD. So finally, view all and modify all will dominate. View all and modify all will dominate OWD. So if you want to perform any operation on the record, you should have the permission on the object first, then followed by record. If you want to perform any operation on the record, first you should have the permission on the object, then followed by the record. Are you clear about this? You should perform the operation on the object followed by the record. I hope you are good with this. Okay. So let us go to the next one. Now, I give read. Public read write. Even though he gave public read write, but Sham will be able to see 111 Sham. What operation? Read. Why read? Because on the object level we have only read access. Did you get my point? So it's a combination of object level and OWD which will decide what type of access. It is a combination of object level and OWD. Object level permissions are given at what level? Profile level. So for a group of people, if I want to give a permission of read on every record, what should I do? For the profile we have to give modifier. Okay, view all. For a group of people, if I want to give read, write, delete permission, then what should I do? I was supposed to give modify all. So view all and modify all will dominate. View all and modify all will dominate. Right. Are you clear? Right. I hope you are clear with this. Are you clear about this? Right? Am I clear? Am I clear about this? Okay. Now go back and start creating this. Make a note of this. With next combination. View all. If you define view all, if you define view all permission on an object for a profile, all users with this profile, can perform read operation on every record. When I say view all users with this profile can perform read operation on every record. If you define modify all permission object profile, all users this profile can perform read, delete, on every record. I hope you are good. I hope you are good with this. Clear for everyone? Am I clear? Right, boss? So we have this modifier. If you define modify all permission on an object for a profile, all users with this profile can perform read, edit, delete operation on every record. Now, still we have two more permissions. Modify all data. If you enable this option, for a profile, all the users with this profile can see every record. If you enable this option for a profile, all the users with this profile can see every record in every object. In every object in the Salesforce. Now this is with respect to object. On an object you are giving view all, but there is a permission called modify all data. If you enable this, you can see every record of every object. In every record, every object, every record you can see. Every record, every object you can see. Perform. Modify all. You enable this option. All the users with this profile every record in the organization perform. You can see every record in the organization and can perform read operation. Now modify all data. Every object will be visible to you. Every record is visible to you. You can perform read, write, delete. Then we have view all data. Every record in organization is visible to you. You can only perform read. Now look at this option, everyone. Profile. What we have? View all, modify. This is for every object level. Similarly, we have modify all data. What is the option we have? Modify. If I enable this, you will be able to see every object and every record in the Salesforce. Similarly, we have view all data. If I enable this, you will be able to see every record in every object of organization. You can see every record and every object in the organization. View all data, modify all data. View all, modify is on an object. On this object, I don't want to show everybody's data. In this object, whatever the data is there, that I want to show. So view all on object. Now entire organization data I want to show you. Modify all data, view all data. I hope you are good. Am I clear? Am I clear with this? Am I clear, boss? Okay. So let us go to the next one. We want to understand second. Am I clear with this? So what we have seen? OWD and profile level. We have seen OWD and profile level. First we started with the OWD, then we had profile level. OWD followed by profile level. OWD followed by profile level. I hope you are good with this. Am I good? Right. Let us go to the next concept here. Sharing rules. Sharing rules. What is the sharing rules? Come again. We have to go to communities concept to understand the next one. Okay. Now, let us see. So, what we have seen? OWDs we have seen, role hierarchy we have seen, then we have seen the combination of profile and OWD. Combination of profile and OWD. I hope everyone is good with this. Okay. Now, let us go to the next concept, which is called sharing rules. So, what do you mean by sharing rules? And when we are going to use these sharing rules? Let us understand the concept of sharing rules. Sharing rules. So, what is the concept of sharing rules? Listen carefully. What is the concept of sharing rule? Now, I told I have an example like this. Look at this example, everyone. There are understand the concept. Why we go for sharing rules? These are the group of users whom I have. These are the users whom we have. So let us go with 111. These are the list of records what we have. Now, according to my organization, look at this. Understand the concept, boss? These 4 people have one profile. These 4 people have one profile. Now, I told in the organization, everyone should see every record. I told in the organization, all these records are visible to everyone can see every record, read, write operations on every record. But Kavya was able to see only these records with a read and write permission. Then how will you achieve this? First, always we have to go with OWD. What is the OWD we give? Can I give public read? If I give public read, Kavya should be able to see 111 Sham. But is the Kavya was able to see every record? No. So public read is not suitable. Public read write? I cannot. So what is the other option? Private. So I am giving private. So if I give on this object, if I give private, then what will happen? I can give private. If I give private, everyone cannot see. Everyone can see only their record. So what is our requirement? What is our requirement? Everyone should see everyone's data except Kavya. But if I give private, now nobody is able to see others' data. So what I will do? I have to give extra permission for the other people. Now because I have to define OWD, as Kavya was not able to see the record, I gave OWD as private. Now because I gave OWD as private, rest of the people are not able to see the data. But our requirement is everyone has to see the data. Our requirement is everyone has to see the data. But now Kavya no one is able to see the data. So I have to give extra permission. Always give OWD first. Then on the top of it, whatever the access you want to give, define them like a sharing rules. So what is the purpose of sharing rules? Sharing rules are used to grant extra permissions on the records to the user apart from what they are able to see through OWD. OWD is already coming. Apart from the OWD, whatever the extra permissions you want to give, those extra permissions are handled with sharing rules. Are you clear? Now, if I don't give a sharing rule, what happened? Everybody can see only their record. But what is our requirement? Everyone should see everyone's data except Kavya. Right? But OWD is private. If I don't give any sharing rules, others will not be able to access the others' data. So how are you providing the access now? Sharing rules. Come back here. So what is the concept we had? Sharing. These are used to grant extra access on the records apart from what user is These are used to grant extra access on the records apart from what user is already able to see. Apart from what user is already able to see. These are used to grant extra access on the records apart from what user is already able to see. Using OWD. And what I'm doing, there are 4 types of sharing rules. One is owner based sharing rules. Owner based sharing rule, criteria based sharing rule, then manual sharing rule, Apex based sharing. Basically, what is the purpose of sharing rules? They are used to grant extra access on the records. Apart from the OWD, whatever the extra permissions we want to give, those extra permissions are given through sharing rules. How many types of sharing rules we have? Owner based sharing rule, criteria based sharing rule, manual sharing rule, Apex based sharing rule. These are the 4 types of sharing rules what we have. I hope you are clear. Right. Now we are going with owner based sharing rule. Owner based sharing rule. When I say owner based sharing rule, records which are owned by role, records which are owned by the users who have a given role and subordinate or public group are shared with users records which are owned by the users who have a given role and subordinate, public group or a queue are shared with the users who have a given role Right. This is the condition. Look at the condition carefully. Look at this example carefully. Everyone here. Manager. This is the users and the corresponding. So we have manager, HR manager. This is the role structure. These are the role structures. Now let us go to the next one. We have a list of records. This is the data what we have got. OWD is private. Now I have a team called HR team. The HR team, for the users we have Sham, this is the data. So let us see the first example. Records which are owned by clerk. Records which are owned by clerk. Records which are owned by clerk. They are shared with the users whose role is. Records which are owned by the clerk. They are shared with the users whose role is HR executive with read access. Now let us see who are having a role of clerk. Kiran. Next one is which records are owned by these people? 333. Now who is having a role of HR executive? We have Divya and Kavya. Now Divya and Kavya. Divya, what type of access she is doing? Divya, right, on which record she has access? 666. Because she was the owner of the record. Because Divya is the owner of the record, she can see 666. Kavya can see 777. Now what I told, records which are owned by the clerk. Who are the clerks? Kiran and Prasad. Those records are On those records, we are giving a read access for Divya and Kavya. What was this? Actually, Divya and Kavya was supposed to see only 666. Divya 777. Kavya. Divya was supposed to see 666. Kavya was supposed to see 777. Divya was supposed to see 666 and Kavya was supposed to see 777. Right, boss? They are about to do 666 and 777. But what happened in this case? What happened in this case? We are giving extra access on the records of clerk. So which records? 333, 444. Now what I am doing? Records which are owned by the clerk. On those records, we are giving a read access for HR executive. Records which are owned by the clerk. On those records, we are giving extra permission for the HR executives, because of which Divya and Kavya was able to see 333 and 444. Are you getting my point? Records owned by this role are shared with another role. Records which are owned by this role are shared with another role. Let me give you a next example. Records owned by public group, HR team. They are shared with the users whose role is subordinates of. They are shared with the role and subordinates of manager. So records which are owned by HR team. Now which records are owned by HR team? So who belongs to HR team? Sham 111, Divya 666, Kavya 77. These records are shared with the role and subordinates of manager. Who is the manager? Ram. Clerk Kiran. Records are shared with the records owned by this public group are shared with the role and subordinates of manager. Now basically Prasad was supposed to see, Ram was supposed to see 333, Kiran was supposed to see 444, Prasad was supposed to see but because of the sharing rule, what happened? 111, 666. I hope you are good with this. Basically, Ram was supposed to see only 333. Kiran was supposed to see only 444. Prasad was supposed to see only 555. But now what happened? They are able to see 111, 66 with a read and write permission. Because we are granting the permission to these users on this group of record. We are granting extra permission. On what basis we are giving? Records which are owned by a role are shared with a role and subordinate or a public group. With what access? Read and write access. People are getting my point? Now look at this. Records owned by a role, they can be shared with another role or role and subordinate or public. Records which are owned by a role and subordinate. Records owned by a role and subordinate, they are shared with another role and subordinate. Records which are owned by a public group, they are shared with a role records owned by a queue, they are shared with a role. Records owned by a role shared with another role and subordinate, public group. Records owned by a role and subordinate shared with a role and subordinate, public group. Records owned by a public group shared with a role and subordinate, public group. Records owned by a queue shared with a role and subordinate, public group. With what permission? Read or read and write. So records which are owned by a role or a role and subordinate or a public group or a queue are shared with whom? With a role and subordinate, public group. Which records can be shared? Owned by a role and subordinate, public group, queue. With whom I can share? With a role and subordinate, public group. With what access? With a read and write access. I hope you are clear with this, right? So this is called owner based sharing rule. Records which are owned by a particular role or a role and subordinate or a public group are shared with another role or role and subordinate or a public group with read and write access. I hope you are good. Everyone has followed this. People are clear. Followed or not? Followed. Right. So let me give you. Now tell me. Next one we have, which is a criteria based sharing rule. What do you mean by a criteria based sharing rule? Records whose city is Hyderabad, share them with a HR manager. Records whose industry is banking, share them with a HR executive. Records whose annual revenue is more than 50,000, share them with the role and subordinates of HR. Now what is this? We are giving a condition. Records which are meeting this condition, they are shared with a role and subordinate or a public group, which is called as criteria based sharing rule. What do you mean by a criteria based sharing rule? Records which are meeting the given condition, they are shared with a given role and subordinate or a public group. Records which are meeting the given condition, they are shared with a given role and subordinate or a public group, which is called criteria based sharing rule. What is owner based sharing rule? Records which are owned by a particular role and subordinate or a public group or a queue are shared with another role and subordinate, public group with what access? Read and write. What is a criteria based sharing rule? Records which are owned by a particular role and subordinate or a public group. The records which are meeting the given condition, they are shared with a given role or a role and subordinate or a public group. Records which are meeting the condition, they are shared with a role and subordinate or a public group. Records which are meeting the given condition, they are shared with a role and subordinate, public group. With what access? Read and write access. Now the point is, if I give OWD as public read write, then there is no need of sharing rules. Why? Using a sharing rule, what we can give at max? Using a sharing rule, what I can give at max? I can give read and write. If already we have public read write, what will happen? If already I have OWD as public read write, every record is visible to everyone with a read and write access. So no need of going for a sharing rule. So when can you go for a sharing rule? When you have OWD as private or public read. Now what is the purpose of sharing rule? What is the purpose of sharing rule? Okay, if you want to grant extra set of permission to a specific role or a role and subordinate or a public group, we go with a sharing rule. How many types of sharing rules we have? Owner based, criteria based, manual, effects based. Now what is the OWD?